episode number 4 of Tales from the Gig. This week we have drummer to the stars, John Blackmon, on our episode. And with me, as always, Kevin Thomas, drummer to the stars also.
My own stars.
That's right, but
The
stars
ones I see
nonetheless.
above me, yeah.
Right. Sometimes we play outside, and that's...
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
that's my stars.
Kevin, how were your gigs this week?
Oh, not bad. Let's see, where were you? I gotta remember. Oh,
We played together. That's right. On Friday.
I'm not even high, and I can't remember what's going on.
Friday
No.
night, we were at Der Harrisburg
Yeah,
Manor
yeah.
Corps
Yeah,
in downtown Harrisburg. Kevin and I playing our duo show. We had fun. We had a good crowd. Played well, I think.
Yeah, and had some potential other work coming out
Yeah,
of it. So.
yeah. I always like when work begets work.
Yes, sir.
And you had a busy weekend.
Yeah, I went down to my best friend. Retired from 25 years in the fire service down in Maryland, so I was able to go down and spend a little evening with them, friends, and celebrate him. I mean, just can't imagine. He retired after 25 years. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Right, yeah. We haven't done anything for 25 years.
No.
Music.
We
I
do
guess,
music,
yeah.
but you know.
That doesn't count. That's not a real job.
It's a tough thing at times. That's cool.
That didn't come through on the recording. That was interesting.
Oh.
Fun sound. I don't know if everybody out there, we've got aliens here at Rebel Base, coming to you as always from Rebel Base Studios, everyone, where it's always an adventure. So,
No, it's like I was saying is to be a little cross into the personal end is like, you know, musicians and stuff, it's a tough thing because, you know, people my age, your age and all, they've got the cars, the houses, the jobs, the kids, the vacations, the vacation houses, and all that stuff. And musicians and artists, this is not just musicians, this is artists in general. You follow this path, and unfortunately a lot of us sacrifice all of those things. And I don't know, it's a tough thing at times. I mean, I see what my friend's built, and he worked hard and everything, and I have great admiration for it, you know. So it's a personal thing that I'm sure many artists struggle with, you know.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I've kept the day job going, but I've found something that I can do for the last 20 years, but music's my career.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, when somebody asks what I do, I tell them I'm a musician. You know, that's first. And that's definitely, I mean, I have friends I went to high school with that, you know, went I shouldn't say the right route, went the traditional route.
Traditional route, yep.
Yeah, they have things, you know, but I'd trade those things for playing a good show,
right?
Having a good time.
That is the truth, you know.
Yeah.
That's why we do it, and it's just and I think sometimes we want people to understand that.
Well, it's hard to remember when you're on the side of the road with a flat tire because your car had shitty tires on it and it's raining.
And it's not inspected, and the registration's expired. And you're just hoping a cop doesn't come by and
right.
see, you know. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, the old adage of a definition of a musician is somebody who drives their $5,000 a gear in a $500 car to a gig 5 hours away, making $100.
$50.
Yeah, that's right. Not. There's a reason that's a cliche.
Yeah,
that's
it's tough. But it was a good time over the weekend, and I actually got to do karaoke a good bit, which I haven't really done much.
Right on.
I've always just felt very awkward with it, but
we had a regular karaoke thing of all musicians in Georgia, and it was weird because we're not
stage performers.
Yeah, none of us think we're better than it,
right.
But it's uncomfortable.
It is. I don't know what it is about it.
It's very strange. Yeah, it's really, and it's fun, and it's a lot of fun with a lot of musicians because you do weird shit.
Yeah.
We used to do with my band Sasbo, Kevin Carwile, hopefully he's listening, and Brian Fagan, and my longest running band. We would do what we called "Fuck Your Buddy" karaoke, and it was where you signed each other up. And
choose a song for them.
Yeah, you choose the song, everything. We all knew each other well enough to know, because it's not fun if you don't know the song,
right?
You know, but you wouldn't know what you're singing until you get up there. So that's a lot of fun. But it's really weird singing karaoke when you also sing in front of a band.
Yeah, I'm not
sure it's a weird.
Why? I haven't figured it out yet, but another best friend of mine, you know, Stan Spees, he missed the calling. He sang in our variety show when the the one thing that I did with him with Spirit of the Radio by Rush. We all did.
Okay, yeah.
And he was a singer. That was years ago. But anyhow, he missed a calling. But I had a great time singing with him and all. And you I guess you have to get past that thing that karaoke's about just singing along to the song. It doesn't matter if they're singing it well on pitch and
I think
time
that's what
or
it
whatever.
is. So many of us are so self-conscious.
Yes.
We're like, oh God, I hope I do a good job, and I hope I perform this correctly. And it's awkward when it's telling you 32 bars of silence. You're like, but no, I want to vamp and talk to the crowd. And yeah, it's because we're all dougebags, people.
Right.
That's the answer. We are bad at karaoke because we're all a bunch of assholes.
But then it was like they were wanting me to sing, and so once I get past that, it made it a little bit more comfortable.
Yep. Well, and it's always nice too when you get you're a musician, sing a song.
Yeah.
It's like
it's like you go to any party. Hey, you want to sing a song for us?
Sing
like,
for us.
I'm coming to just hang out. But it's what we do.
Yeah, Aziz Ansari has a good stand-up bit where he's talking about just going to a New Year's party and just being obliterated, after midnight, and somebody being, "Hey, you're a comedian, tell a joke." It's like, yeah, that's always, or hey, man, my little brother has this guitar, play us a song,
right.
And you have to be the guy that's like, well, it's not really set up for me. The strings are kind of rusted. It's not the type of guitar.
And they don't give a fuck.
No,
they just
want
to hear it. They don't even care about how bad it sounds.
And again, that just goes back to we're all assholes, people. We're all egomaniacal assholes. That's
part of it, I guess. I don't know.
But
then I had a gig on Sunday.
Yes, your pre-Super Bowl gig.
And I don't get a chance to play with these guys. Steve Snook and Bill Ziegler, and I worked with Billy for the past 25 years or so like that. So it's a lot of fun to go do the gig. And the only reason I'm going to say this is this is the reality of some of our gigs. It was a little restaurant in town up there. I live in a small town up north, and they had a pre-thing, food and all planned out and everything, but there might have been 10 people there for it. And the first half hour of the gig was us eating the food because there was nobody there.
Had to eat the buffet.
Until one person came in, so then we started playing. And of course, we played as much as we could, but that's just the reality of what goes on. And those are, some people might think, oh, that's an easy gig. You don't have to worry about pleasing anybody.
It hurts. It hurts. It physically hurts
to
play to nobody.
They are so painful.
It's the nights where you got a good crowd and the band's playing well fly by. Yeah. And those nights where there's nobody there, it hurts. Like, it hurts your soul.
Well, yeah, and so many people think it's your ego's not being filled because people aren't clapping for you. Okay, I'll give you some of that. That's because that's part of the atmosphere.
Yep.
But it's not about that. It's just like
what we
there's
do
no
is
energy.
It's a performance sport.
Yeah.
We feed off of a crowd, and it's if we wanted to do that, we'd jam in the living room, and we wouldn't have to put shoes on and hang out. And what we do is very much an audience interactive.
You love to do that, and but so what I've done, I've had many of these gigs, and you just turn inward, and you start and play better.
Exactly.
Things,
and if you're with players that you know and trust well, that's when you get to do the fun, weird shit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, there's nobody here. Let's try that thing.
Let's go this way. Oh,
sometimes you find cool shit. Sometimes it's a clam, but
exactly.
Yeah, that's. It's very common for us to stop playing when the band outnumbers the crowd. Mm-hmm. That is a normal thing for bands.
It is. It's tough, and we feel, and it's not just the ego thing or crowd. We feel bad about it.
Yeah, because we're getting paid.
We're getting paid, and it's. We've done what we could. The club, the restaurant promoted it and everything. It's
sometimes it's just a dud.
It
happens.
Work. So and
more
they were
often
cool
than
with
not,
it.
It happens, unfortunately.
But that's just what happens. That's part of our world.
The only thing worse than that is an indifferent crowd.
Agreed.
To me, I'd rather play to 4 people who seem really into it than 100 people who could not give a shit.
Right, and they're all talking and chatting, and then you hear the.
30 seconds after you're done, you hear the one guy
golf clap
politely because he feels bad because nobody's giving a shit what you've done for the last half hour.
Those are painful.
Yes.
It's they hate us. So you got all that dialogue going on in your head, and it's tough.
Kevin and I have played a handful of gigs now, and there's a phrase I commonly use for some of these gigs where we're wallpaper.
Yeah.
And as you mature as a musician, they hurt less because then you realize, I'm getting paid to practice. I can break out some new songs. Like, we're pretty confident we're not going to botch anything too bad.
We're still playing them well.
Yeah, they're not. There might be 1 or 2 guys paying attention, but for the most part, they're not. So cool. It's a wallpaper gig. Paid practice, guys. And once you accept that, young musicians coming up.
Yes.
I have a lot of gray now. I can say that. And there's something to be had from any of those gigs, whether it's a learning experience, whether it's, hey, we could be practicing at the house in the garage for free. We're here. We're getting paid, $100 a piece to do it. Or you might have that one guy in the crowd. You never know.
Yep.
That guy in the crowd could be your George Martin. The guy in the crowd could be, you know, that you never know. It could be your Mutt Lange that hears you and thinks you're the greatest thing ever and puts you onto a great gig.
Yep.
That's how I got the gig at the Cigar Bar, which I know we talk about every episode, but I love Maxwell's. I want to give them as much shout out as possible. And yeah, me and Charlie and the guys were playing a shit gig, and a guy who was friends with the owner of the Cigar Bar heard us and was like, man, I really think you'd work. And they were just getting going with music. And we got that gig, and it's my favorite place to play now. Right. It was from a shitty gig that was just one guy happened to the bar, so you never know.
It is, yep. You always got to bring your show, you know, as painful as it might be.
That's it, yeah. Put on a brave face and and get after it. But yeah, like Kevin said, guys, that's the reality, unfortunately, for a lot of us. Not you'll talk to some bands or, oh no, every show we play is killer. Like, well, you're either lying or you're real fucking lucky.
Great for you, man.
Or you play once every 8 months and all your friends from work come out to see you.
Yeah.
Which if any of those bands need a guitar player, I work pretty inexpensively.
Yeah. So. We're for hire.
Exactly.
So,
but yeah, that brings us to Sunday evening, the biggest night in music.
In music, yeah. We'll start right with that topic.
Yes.
You know? There's so much controversy in the musician world around this whole thing with the Super Bowl halftime show, and
so I'm going to give my stance.
Yeah,
on it.
Go for it.
It's not a music performance.
That's where I am.
It's never been billed to me as a music performance. I think the people that say the biggest night in music aren't the Super Bowl people. It's just not. It's an entertainment performance.
Exactly. That's how I feel about it.
I can think, on one hand, musical performances, Prince.
Yes.
You know, that being,
for
me, the pinnacle.
Yeah.
But even that, I'd be willing to bet if Prince were here, he would say it was a show. Yeah. It wasn't a gig. You know, I think he was playing live. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure he was. Yes.
I can't imagine he wouldn't have played live. But
Prince,
that was a show. That wasn't a. You weren't watching. If you were trying to tell somebody, hey, this is what Prince sounds like, you're not going to play him the halftime show.
No.
That said, one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You know, it started fucking raining while he was playing Purple Rain. Like, come on.
I was screaming. I was like, holy.
Oh, goosebumps.
I mean, that was freaking out during that. I was like, it's raining and that motherfucker is tearing it up.
But because it was entertaining, not because it was, man, that's probably the best show he's ever played.
Right.
So get over it, people. Shakira and J-Lo are hot.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you look at it from an entertainment space. I mean, J-Lo's 50.
Yeah, and Shakira's 43.
Oh,
I saw
my
today.
God. And, you know, there was a lot of underlying messages going on. The kids in the cages, the Puerto Rican flag during Born in the USA, all of that stuff. And that's, I think they were done tastefully, though.
Yeah, it wasn't crammed down your throat.
Right.
I mean, it was no Baby Shark.
Right.
But,
nobody's, really trying to shove it in your face or anything like that. And I think, so I thought it was done tastefully. My personal, I just don't, that's not entertainment.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not. Just, I'm not a pop guy. I'm just not. Yeah. I get it.
Yes, I get it.
I totally do, and I appreciate the fanfare of it. But yeah, I'm just not a pop guy.
And it's as much as we talk about J-Lo and Shakira, I don't drool like that anymore.
Yeah,
I just life's changed. Yeah, so it's like great for you.
But that said, I don't want to see. I wouldn't. It would be a horrible halftime show to see like our Dream Theater up there. Like, can you imagine? Like, or I mean, Jing Chi, Robin Ford and those guys.
Yeah, all those guys.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That would be ridiculous. Like,
and I think that's where it comes. They call it the biggest night in music.
Yeah,
and they shouldn't.
No. Yeah.
Take the word music out of it.
Yep.
And it's the biggest night in entertainment.
Yeah, it's the biggest halftime show. I say bring the marching bands back.
Oh.
I'll take the stance right now, people.
Yeah.
Bring the marching bands back. Whatever high school band wins Bands of America every year should get to play the Super Bowl halftime show.
It's just
I'm starting the campaign now. It's a write-in campaign.
Write-in.
We're
Penn State Blue Band first. Yeah, Penn State. So I live up there. I'm just so used to it.
Yeah, he's pandering. He's pandering, people. Kevin's pandering.
I'm not sorry. Sorry, Penn State fans. I love you guys. You're great. It's just not my gig. The fanaticism gets to me.
It's a little. Any college town. Athens, Georgia's that way.
Yeah.
UGA is crazy. But what are you gonna do?
Well, my son goes there, so I shouldn't be talking.
Whatever. That's all right. But we had John Blackmon, John Lanky Blackmon on the podcast this week. It was our most candid interview. He was really open. It was really cool. I'm not going to give anything away because I want you guys to enjoy the interview. But I've had the pleasure of course, these first couple episodes we're kind of pulling from our own pool of guys we know and have played with. Which we've got some exciting stuff on the horizon of some guys we're branching out to bigger names. But no, I'm really liking talking to these guys I know because I'm learning shit I had no idea. And John was one of those. I've played a handful of gigs with John. I probably know him the least, or pretty close to the least of the guys we've talked to. But we've played a handful of gigs, and I learned a lot of shit about him I didn't know. It was a really good chat. He was
genuine too.
He is very genuine. A lot of these genuine he's just people. A really good guy. We're lucky talking to some just cool musicians.
How do you know all these genuine people, man?
I pay them really well.
Yeah. He's been telling me he's a jerk, but I don't think so.
No, I am an asshole. But no, he's just a good guy. It was a good chat.
Yeah.
We had a good conversation. I wish we'd talked longer, but we're still getting our feet in. I mean, 45 minutes, I start to feel like we're taking up their time.
It's a weird thing.
I'm sure all these guys will get back on again later. And once we're in our fancy Rebel Base Studios Part D, it'll be, which is in the works.
It's
already,
in the works,
so.
Hopefully that'll be nice.
And, but yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy. We've got some Jerika Singleton music playing us in and out.
Oh, right. Yep.
And artists that John gigged with and recorded with. Really good blues player. But yeah, you guys enjoy John Blackmon. All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Tales from the Gig. We're here with the great John Blackmon. John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. John's a fantastic session and live drummer that I was fortunate enough to meet in Atlanta. I guess 2018 was it? Now it's been a few years.
Yeah, 2018 exactly.
Yeah. John came into a Atlanta Blues Society jam that I was in the host band for. We got to play together and. Lucky enough to do a few shows with him, but we thought as a gigging working musician, he'd be perfect to talk to and get some stories from him. But John, why don't you tell the people a little bit about your background, when you started playing, who you've played with, why they should be super excited to hear you talk?
I'm first and foremost, I'm John Blackmon. The people that don't know, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and I started playing drums around the age of 2. Well, it was actually at the age of 2. I was taught by my cousin, which was at the time 1 year. He was 1 year older than me. He was 3. So, yeah, man, I learned how to play drums off of pots and pans.
Nice.
Yeah.
Literally. And so one thing that sticks out about me is I'm a left-handed, but I play like a right-handed drummer.
Kit. Okay.
So I get asked that question a lot. How do you play like a right-handed drummer? And I'm just like, well, this is the way I was taught. You know, of course, starting out, I tried to favor my left hand, but my cousin was like, no, that's wrong. So he started to teach me how to cross over or whatever like that. So it just stuck with me, man.
So do you play open-handed at all? Left-hand hi-hat type of stuff at all? Or are you still just strictly to a right hi-hat?
Say that again?
Do you play open-handed like Carter Beauford type of style?
Sometimes I have the ability to. Yeah. And I've actually started trying to play more open-handed now to free up myself around the kit.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a challenge, but I love challenges.
Yeah.
So, do you remember, or if you do, can you tell us about your first gig? How old you were, or what it was, if it was with a band or an orchestra, or just that's always a fun. I love hearing those stories from other players.
Man, my first gig. Lord have mercy. My first gig was on the gospel side of the industry.
Yeah.
I'm a gospel drummer at heart. I love gospel. It was a quartet gig, and I think my first gig was back in 2004. Like, and when I say my first gig, my first paying gig,
right?
I consider it to be professional,
right?
I had to go rehearse and all of that stuff. It had to be like 2004, 2005, and it was with a group by the name of the Gospel Melodies.
Okay.
Out of Jackson, Mississippi. They're a quartet group. And that's pretty much, I got my start. The leader of the band, his name was Randy Avery. Shout out to Randy. Randy is a Jackson police officer, and Randy took care of me. He really took care of me, showed me the ropes or whatever like that, and I enjoyed playing for those guys. Yeah, that was my first gig, man. And I think I played with the Gospel Melodies for like 2-3 years.
Okay.
Solid. Yeah.
Very cool.
So did you do all the school band type of things at all?
Yes.
Coming up?
I marched in middle school band. I also marched in high school band. I went to Lanier High School in Jackson, Mississippi. And I also marched in college band at Jackson State University out of Jackson, Mississippi.
I know.
So, with that being your first gig, what's your favorite gig story, if you've got one, if you can narrow it down to one?
My favorite gig, man, I would have to say, I would have to say it would have to be with the Jerika Singleton band, my band that I was touring with before I moved to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I have so many stories. One in particular is me and the bass player, and his name is Ben Sterling. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Ben. We were sharing hotel rooms this one particular night. I'll never forget. We were in Topeka, Kansas. Uh-oh. And we left our window open to our hotel room. And we left out, came back that night, got ready for bed. We were just sitting up in our beds and just talking. And all of a sudden, we saw something fly through the window. We had no lights on, nothing. And I was like, man, that's not a mosquito. It's too big to be a mosquito. So, man, we sat still. We stopped talking, ceased conversation. And it moved again. When it moved again, covers went one way and we went the other way. Like, literally. Like, man, we ran to the door. Ben was trying to push the door and I was trying to pull the door. Man. So we were like stuck outside the room. And I said, Ben, don't let the door close. Don't let the door close. Oh, he let the door close.
Of course.
So we were outside just with nothing but boxers on. So we had to walk down to the front desk, covered up like this, with to the receptionist, and she was reading a newspaper. So she had to do a double take to make sure this is what she was seeing. So she was like, can I help you guys? And I was like, ma'am, there's a bat in our room. She said, a bat? I said, yes, ma'am, it's a bat in our room. And so she said, well, sorry, there's nothing I can do about that because maintenance is gone for the night. And I'm like, well, do you have another room we can go to? And she was like, no. Okay, what do you expect us to do? So by that time, security walked in, and he was like, what's going on? So we told him. He went and got a pillowcase, came to our room. I forgot what floor we was on, but we let him lead the way. We didn't go in front of him. So as soon as he opened the door, the bat, which was a bat, flew out of the room. The bat came out. We went in the room.
Yeah.
And closed the door.
And probably the window, too. Make sure the window was closed.
Yeah, get that closed, yeah.
Yeah, man. So only thing we heard for like the next 5 minutes was like heavy boots running up and down the hallway.
The security guard chasing it.
And so when he caught it, he knocked on the door and he was like, I got it. And the bat was in the pillowcase. That's moving crazy. Around. I was like, man...
Well, at least he didn't leave it with you. He didn't just throw the pillowcase in the room and say good luck.
Right.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. That's one of my favorites we've had so far. So coming up in Jackson, Mississippi, man, tell us about the music scene there. What was that like?
Man, and to be honest with you, I have the music scene in Jackson is booming.
Yeah.
It's still doing pretty good. It could be better, but I think everybody has their ups and downs where the music scene goes through the phase of the venues closing down, mm-hmm. some opening back up. Everybody has that story of venues not paying a whole lot, but you got to be pretty much loyal to a venue in order to make a decent pay. So Jackson is pretty much like that right now. I came onto the blues scene a little, I say around 2009.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was like 2009. And that's when I first started playing with uh
Yeah.
Jerichis. Yeah, around 2009. And shortly after that, I had a little, and I don't mind talking about this over the podcast,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had some legal issues.
Right.
I did 2 years in prison, and when I got out of prison, I went right back to gigging all over again,
Yeah.
man. So it was just like time stopped, but I kept moving.
Yeah.
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 And
Pick
so
it
I
right
just
back up.
came right back to it like nothing ever happened. And
Yeah.
people were like, how did you just mentally come out and just start back gigging? Because it never left me.
Yeah.
Right.
Music is literally, it kept my sanity,
Yeah.
Right.
like literally. So,
Kept you
you
going.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Did you find that boosted your focus? I imagine that was probably one of the main things you thought about while you were there was getting your music career back when you get out. Did that help you get to make the time easier, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I had headphones in my ear 365.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Those guys probably thought I was crazy, man, because I was air drumming all the time.
Right.
I was over there. They were just going crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, man, and they would call me Jacktown.
Yeah.
You know, that was my nickname or whatever. And they was like, man, you crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not crazy.
I'm playing a gig. Y'all just can't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
practicing,
playing
man.
an air gig.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
All right. So you moved to Atlanta. Did you move to Atlanta in 2018? Had you just come? Okay. What made you make the move?
February 1st.
Yeah.
February 1st next month will be 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Out here. I made the move. It was a mutual agreement between me and my wife.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to move elsewhere.
Right.
But we found a place that we both had in common with family. We
Yeah.
both have family here, so we wanted to be, kind of close to family or whatever.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that's what made me move here.
Cool. How are you liking the Atlanta scene so far? A lot of the people listening are from the Atlanta area, and
I love it. I love it, man. I'm still getting acclimated to the scene. There's still a lot of people that don't really know about me, and I try to show my face as much as I can.
Yeah.
At the jams when I can. I just recently let my day job go.
okay.
I was working. It was kind of hard for me to go to some of the jams because of the time that started.
Yeah, the Atlanta jams are late. They're
Yeah.
definitely later than a lot of other towns.
Yeah, it was like, so I had to be at work at 6, which meant I had to be up by 4:15.
Right.
Yeah, that alarm clock comes early when you don't get to play until midnight.
Exactly.
Done
So
that,
yeah, man. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving the challenge.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love challenges, and I know you have to crawl before you walk, and yeah, I'm excited about what's to come in the future.
Yeah.
So you're primarily gigging then? That's what you're able to do that
Yes,
now? That's awesome.
I am gigging. I'm actually gigging with an artist out of Mississippi as well. His name is Mick Kalasa.
Okay.
I travel with him over the road from time to time. So Mick kind of keeps me busy. Larry Griffith keeps me busy.
Yes. He'll do that.
Yeah. Larry, hey,
Yeah.
Larry is the hardest working man. One of the hardest working men in the blues business.
Man, I'd known Larry since I was a teenager, but I didn't get to play with him until I got back into the scene in like 2012, I guess it was. And Larry was the first guy I got back in touch with, and I got to be in his band, both his party band and his blues band. And when he started sending me out the schedule, I was like, "Holy shit!" you weren't kidding, man. He will play a bar mitzvah. He will play, and he puts on the same show, whether it's to 10 people who could not care less or 1,000 people that paid $20 a head to see him. It's a talent. Yeah. What he does, he's an entertainer. He's not just a singer. Yeah. I saw you've been doing the Fat Matt's dates with him, and Joel's playing keys on that, right?
Yep.
And is Franher playing bass on those gigs? That's a hell of a band. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I love playing with those guys, man.
Yeah.
we gel really, really well, man.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
absolutely. I could see that. I can imagine. That's cool. It's yeah. Who else you been playing with around town? You been doing pickup work or?
Yeah, some pickup work, man. Larry Griffith. I've played with Sammy Blue.
Mm-hmm.
A few times. I'm actually shout out to Sammy. We were currently working on his new record.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm playing drums, and I'm producing his new record.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
yeah, man, just be on the lookout for it.
Yeah. Where are you guys doing that at? Where you are you in the studio yet? Or?
It's here in Stone Mountain studio here in Stone Mountain.
Cool. Right on. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got a wedding gig coming up in a couple weeks with a guy I've heard.
Yeah, man. You know what? And it's so ironic. You know, I'm talking to this guy right now.
Yeah, that's funny how that works, isn't it? No, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, that's gonna be fun, dude.
Yeah,
For real.
yeah. I'm gonna let Kevin talk shop with you.
Okay. Tell everybody a little bit about your influences, who you listen to, who inspired you. I mean, you talked about how your cousin taught you how to play when you were 2 and 3,
Yeah.
but what hooked you?
Man, like I said, my cousin taught me when I was 2 years old, and I've looked up to my cousin for numerous amount of years. His name is Marcus Singleton. Marcus plays organ, plays some of everything. Man, he plays drums. He's played on a lot of records. So of course that was like a big motivation to me, coming up behind him. And I was just like, hey, he's dope. I'm like, hey, that's gonna be me one day. You know what I'm saying? And I never stopped until, I got to where I really wanted to be, and I'm still pushing to this day. Another person that influenced me a lot is David Curry, the third. He's shout out to David Curry. He plays for Keith Sweat. He's the drummer for Keith Sweat. Okay. We used to shed a lot when we were younger. He showed me a lot of stuff, a lot of different chops, and mainly discipline, man, pocket, where it needs to be, stuff like that. I have another homeboy. He actually lives here in Atlanta. His name is Sarad Butler, and Sarad. He gigs with Rodney Garrett, bass player, and he's doing big things as well. So I have several influences, man. And then can't forget about this guy, Calvin Rogers. I know a lot of people have really never heard of him, but Calvin is an awesome drummer, man. Calvin played with some of everybody. Right. Currently, he's playing with the Isley Brothers right now. But yeah, I think Calvin has inspired a lot of drummers, man. Let's see. Spanky plays with Lady Gaga, Ty Tribbett, some of everybody, man. So I have many influences, but what I try to do from my influences, it's not so much as play like them per se, right? But I take bits and pieces from them and I make it my own.
Influence there, yep.
Yeah, I make it my own, man. So I try to. Whenever I play, I try to leave a lasting impression on someone, right? So to where they'll remember me, oh man, he was a solid drummer, or he was hitting hard in the pocket, or whatever like that. Right. Or whenever the time comes, if I have to come out of the pocket and solo or whatever, I give it my all. I give it 110% every time behind the kit. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people that. I grew up with a lot of influences as well, but I'm kind of a cross between Bonham and Peart. So that was my rock background, and then I got into jazz and funk and everything through high school and all the high school bands, and so.
Well, you want to bring up jazz. We can't forget about Elvin Jones and Max Roach.
Max Roach. Yeah.
I've studied those guys. Art Blakely, The Messenger.
Right on.
Can't forget about those. Can't forget about those individuals, man. So it's a lot of people around. I can say that I have laid eyes on. Whether it be like physically or through some type of video that I paid attention to, and I tried to incorporate that into my playing style. So,
yep. Is there any one moment in your early career where you saw something and said, I want to do that? It's like I was watching, I think it was in middle school sometime, and a friend of mine had a tape, a VCR tape of Billy Joel's live at Long Island. And,
Yeah.
and Liberty DeVito's back there just killing the drums and just having a ball. You can just see. And I remember that moment thinking, that's what I want to do. You know, you have any memories of that?
Yes,
that moment?
I do. I would have to say, it was the live recording of Bishop Larry Trotter's "Tell the Devil I'm Back."
Right, huh?
Calvin Rogers was on drums, and I think that had to been like maybe 2000, 2001. Man, we watched that DVD every day, and it was just like the drums were talking.
Right.
Like they were saying, they were just talking back, man. His feels, everything was just like, we were just dropping our mouths like, okay, rewind it back. Let's hear it again. Rewind it back. Let's hear it one more time. So, and even we would try to take what we saw in the DVD and would try to go back to church and play it, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, that was my eye-catching moment right there. One of my eye-catching moments.
Yeah. What about Colin said you got some endorsements. What kind of gear are you using lately?
Currently endorsed with T Cymbals.
Okay.
They T as in truck. They're out of Istanbul in Turkey.
Okay.
Simpad, and I am also endorsed with Agner drumsticks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of those.
Agner?
Yeah, I have to check them out.
Agner has been around since like 1985. They're out of they're Swiss wood. They're made out of Swiss. Yeah, man, I love them. The sticks, man, they're awesome. They take a beating.
Maybe something the audience would like to. How did you come across something like that? Just a chance meeting? Did you contact them? How did you get into that?
Now, my cymbal company, I reached out to them because at the time it was 2013 when I started to really tour heavy. And I reached out to them because I found myself cracking cymbals left and right. And I got tired of paying like $300-$400 for one crash, man.
I got a couple I got to replace right now.
I was like, man, some got to give. So I reached out to like maybe 7 or 8 cymbal companies, man, sending them my press kit. And out of like the 7 or 8, 4 responded back.
Okay. And
out of the 4, I just chose which one was the best, gave the best offer.
Okay.
And T Cymbals, they gave at the time they gave the best offer, and they also had a lot of cymbals to choose from.
Okay.
Also, they give you the option to get your own cymbal custom made.
All right.
You know, with your name on it or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I haven't done that yet, but that's in the making.
Right.
That's the future.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just sent out letters to all of them with your press kit and hope they respond, basically.
Hope they respond. Yeah. That's it, man. And I mean, I get a percentage, but I don't mind paying for the cymbals or my sticks because I'm working.
Right.
And that's really what they want to see. They want to see that you're working, man. And you know, people drummers want endorsements, but you got to put in the work to get them.
That's right. Yep.
Got to put in the work to get them, man.
Yeah. The company's got to get their money's worth basically out of, giving you a discount or whatever.
It's a partnership, man. It's like, okay, I get something in return. I'm getting their product, so it's my job to promote their product. Yeah. That's it.
That's awesome.
I'm curious. I'm going to jump in.
Yeah.
You had mentioned producing Sammy Blue's new record, and you had told me before about doing some production stuff back in Mississippi on just gigs that you and I have played together. Do you think as a drummer, does that give you a unique perspective? You know, a lot of times producers are piano players, a lot of piano players. Yeah. You know, you'll see guitar players producing. As a drummer, do you think you approach production work differently, or especially something that you're producing and drumming on? Do you think that gives you just kind of a different perspective? I know some of the stuff that you played me that you produced before for artists, it definitely had the groove was tighter. You could, it sounded like it was produced by a drummer. You know what I mean? The drums were real. Yeah. I was just curious. Talk on that a little bit. What your input as a producer is.
Well, of course, you approach the music differently, and not only that, you're listening for everything. Like something can be off a split of the meter.
Yes.
If it's not right, it's not right.
And the guitar players are saying, "Oh, that's fine." And you're like, "No."
Because you'll be amazed. Like everybody doesn't hear the same, but being a drummer that keeps time, if a guitar string, if you hit your guitar string a millisecond late, it sounds like a broken record.
Agreed.
Like literally.
Agreed.
If it's a string that leads to a chord progression, if that one string is hit a millisecond late going into the chord progression, it's going to make everything clash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to gel like all simultaneously together, stuff like that. So yeah, I listen for everything. I listen to all the parts. I can't play keyboard.
Right.
I can't play bass.
I'm like that too.
But I know what I'm listening for.
Yes.
And I know how it should go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good at creating parts, outros, intros, or maybe, transitions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, I don't think. I've been fortunate and I've been blessed to have an ear. Yeah. Some people call it relative pitch.
Yeah.
I can hear a song from 4 years ago and hum it back to you in the correct key today. Yeah. I just have a memory like that, man. So I've been blessed with the ability to do that. So yeah, man, I've caught myself on some gigs, like I played with my former bass player I played with back home, Ben. I played with him so long to where I know what numbers are now.
Right.
So, sometimes I've caught myself talking to a bass player that I don't normally play with, like go to the 3 or go to the 2,
right?
Or go to the 4. I just catch myself doing it, man, because once you do it for so long, it sinks in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Joel Edwards and I played a show together this past Saturday, and he and I always sit and kind of commiserate about all the guys we've played with. And I've played with a lot of drummers, and there's a few, your name always comes up in the list. Charlie Korch, of course, my regular drummer,
that's my dude,
as
man.
Drummers that listen. And it's amazing as a non-drummer, and I don't have a rhythmic bone in my body. Like I can't do shit on anything percussion wise, but to play 30 seconds into the first song playing with a drummer, if that drummer listens. And if that drummer, and Charlie's the same way. Charlie can sing. Charlie understands music. When we were doing this last record of mine, Charlie was probably the biggest editor, and he's the drummer. He's not playing a melodic instrument, but we'd be sitting there, and just like you said, John, he wouldn't necessarily know what it was, but he'd be like, guys, something's off. Something's not
Something
feeling right there.
Right.
And
I can hear him now saying.
Oh
that.
yeah, it sound like Peter Griffin talking. But he couldn't necessarily articulate it. He didn't necessarily have the vocabulary of saying, "Hey, you're playing an E sus9 when it should have been whatever." But
should be a flat 4 or
he could let us know,
there,
"Hey, asshole, the guitar part you just played was wrong. Like, go back and fix that."
Yeah, I tend to have that as well. You hear where it is, and sometimes I have a melodic background as well, but not as in deep. But you can just hear that something's not quite right in there, and you can describe it to them, but you can't actually go play it.
Right?
Like you can't go over to the guitar player and say, "No, play this." I don't have that talent.
But you know what though? It's gotten to the point now where if I hear it, I'll go to that string. And it may be a few notes down, but I'm gonna go right to it. I'll slide up to it. Like, okay, this is where it is.
You can find it. Yes. I'm like that. Yeah.
But no, that's definitely. I mean, I noticed it at that jam partially, but I know that for everybody listening that's not familiar, unfortunately, when you're new at a jam, you get put with the shittiest players.
Oh man!
And I don't know if any of them are listening. I'm not going to call any of them by name.
No.
But that jam that John came out to, we chatted before he got up and played, and because they didn't know him, the host put him up with it was a dumpster fire of a band.
Oh, man.
And but you could tell his eyes were open. He was watching the guys trying to make it a decent run through. But I think we had you on a pickup gig pretty soon after that.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing, 30 seconds, and I was like, like I had the same thing with Kevin. Kevin and I have only done acoustic stuff, but even him playing a cajon and a shaker, right away you're like, okay, this is going to work. Like we can listen to each other, because when you play with that drummer that doesn't, it's hard. Like as a front man, and again, I'm not going to name names, but there's anybody listening that knows me knows the story, and I won't tell it on the podcast. But I had a fill-in guy in Atlanta one time because I got screwed by a guy that I had playing that called me like 6 hours before the gig. Told me he was sick. Found out later he took a gig that paid more.
That's the worst.
No, he never got a call from me again after that. I mean, that's for me. That's if he had just told me, hey, I found you a fill-in, I would have been pissed. Would have been like, all right, I get it. But the fact that he lied, like that's that. But the guy, everybody was booked because it was a Saturday night, in the summer, and it was like Saturday afternoon when I'm making these calls. I know I'm not going to get anybody. So Charlie got me like a friend of a friend of a friend who kind of had a resume, and it wasn't that important of a gig, but it was a 4-hour gig, so it wasn't like something we could get in and out if it was garbage. And man, 2 minutes into the first set, I'm looking over at Joel like, this is going to be a hard night. Like, this is going to be a real rough night. In my 20 years of gigging, it's the only gig I've cut early. We were supposed to play till midnight, and at like 11:35, I was like, we're done. Like I can't do this anymore. It's just because he wouldn't listen. We're telegraphing stops and changes of like, man, I'm using my guitar like a fucking battle axe. Like if you can't tell what I'm doing, like,
it's here.
Like,
Stop.
And I look back and he's watching the basketball game on the TV, or he's looking at his drum, or he's eating his fries that he brought on stage with him. It was just like, God,
man, that's the worst, man.
And
that's like.
And at the end of the night, those guys also are always oblivious. The guys that don't listen at the end of the night, it's like, man, great gig, boys. And it was like, really?
Were you
like,
did you
you either weren't listening or you've got a really low standard of gig quality. Like, it was,
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it was rough. So yeah, that's drummers especially. Like you can get by with a guitar player that's a little out of it, but man, you just know well, second guitar player. If you got a fill-in guy, you can just turn his amp down.
Right, just unplug them all together.
Yep. But yeah, if you don't get a rhythm section that locks in, it's one of the worst feelings as a front man, not trusting the band behind you.
Right, you don't know what's going to happen.
And that's what it's all about, man. The rhythm section. That's the first thing everybody hears.
Yes.
Is not only the drummer, but the bass is a percussion instrument as well.
Absolutely.
Much.
So yeah, they're gonna hear the drums and bass more so than anything. And if that's off, you can be the coldest guitar player, but if your rhythm section ain't together, your band is trash.
You're done.
That's it.
That's not even up for debate.
Nope. And a good guitar player won't be able to show off because he's trying to keep rhythm with his guitar. If it's not.
Exactly.
Yep.
I've always taken the approach just to, I've got to serve the artist, serve the vocalist. I've got to be locked in with them, playing what they need. Play simple. Just throw the backbeat in there or something for them.
Yeah.
But so many, and watch them. I'm sure that's the thing is we have this talent for reading body language. I'm sure you could say the same thing.
Yeah.
Reading the back of heads.
Yeah, we're at the back of people, and I can tell if somebody's making a change just by their arm moving or something. Some sort of. I'm sure you could say the same. And people are like, how do you know that? It's like you just learn body language and
look. Body like limbs. I watch feet. I watch fingers.
All of them.
I watch arms.
Yes, I do.
If you got long hair, if I see a strand of your hair move that way,
John's
good.
watching my ponytail when he's sitting behind me. He can tell.
That's awesome, man. I do the same thing.
Look, okay.
That's my favorite version of that. When me, Charlie, and Joel, Charlie Korch, for anybody that's listening, we talk about him every episode. He's the whole reason this podcast has happened. Is his crazy stories that he always tells. But Charlie, Joel is one of those guys that he's a hard read. When when you first get to know him, you think he doesn't like you because he's real shy and real withdrawn. But Charlie was telling me one of the first gigs he ever played with Joel, I don't think it was with me. I think it was with another band before we were all playing together. He learned that Joel's tell is if you're playing too slow, he'll lean forward. and if you're playing too fast, he'll lean back. And if he's in the middle, you're at the tempo that he wants. And Charlie said the gig wasn't very good, so he just started fucking with Joel, and he'd like speed up just to get Joel rocking forward and rocking back.
I can see that.
Yeah. And every gig the three of us ever played together, I could see him watching Joel, because Joel's got that internal meter. He knows where the song's supposed to be. Joel, for anybody that we're going to have him, he's going to be our first in-studio guest here in a couple weeks, but Joel is a genius. Anybody that's played with that guy, the stuff he knows, the stuff he's forgotten musically, like, I knew he was a monster bass player. He's Barry Richmond, who was on our last episode. He's been Barry's bass player for 15 years. You don't get to do that by being a mediocre player.
Man, the dude is cold. Hands down.
Well, and then he showed up to a jam one day with a keyboard. And I was like, Joel, what are you doing, man? You're a bass player. And he's like, I've been learning keyboard. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, sit down. He sits down, plays the best B3 solo I've ever fucking heard. I was like, what is this? Well, and then we were recording my record, and I'm like, all right, so he's a great keyboard player and a bass player. He's going to do keys and bass on my record. Well, I was trying to figure out this guitar part, and I wasn't quite sure where it wanted, so he grabbed a guitar. Then I find out he's got a college degree in guitar performance. He's a better guitar player than I am, too. And it's just like, you know what? You just record the whole record. Like,
okay.
But
I'll just watch.
Exactly. I'll sit back. I'm still going to put my name on it. But well, you can ghostwrite the guitar parts for me. But yeah, guys like that, it's funny. And a rhythm section, when they lock in, because all these guys that we're talking about, and John's included in that, listen. They've got ears, you know, and that makes such a big difference. And I was curious with you doing production work. I guess that skill translates into the studio when you can sit behind the board and listen for all that.
Yeah, frequencies, man. It's all about frequencies.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Kevin, you got any more nerdy drum questions?
No. You want to elaborate on? You told me the sticks and the endorsements. What kit are you using and stuff like that now?
I'm using Yamaha Stage Custom.
Oh, right on.
And it's a birch kit, cranberry red. It's my favorite kit.
It's
man.
Pretty.
It's my favorite kit, and I cannot lie. I've done all of my recordings with that kit. Yep. Yeah, I have, man. I
have a similar kit. When the Stage Custom just came out, I got one of those. Little 20-inch kick, and nice little 4-piece.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna ever get rid of it though. I don't. And I have a 20-inch kick. So the thing about the 20-inch kick, I just recently had someone tell me that my kick drum was tuned. No, I was playing too loud for the room.
Trying to mind their own damn business.
I was like, whoa, for real? I was like, well, dang. Okay, so I bagged off of it a little bit, and then somebody else says, hey, man, we really can't hear the bass drum. I was like, bro, look, I'm not going to do all this going back and forth. So, but that's just the way I have my bass drum tuned. For the listening ear, you would think that's a 22-inch, but it's just the way I have it tuned. The 20-inch, man, it carries its own weight.
That's exactly what I have too. It's a 20-inch kick.
It carries its own weight, man.
Everybody says it's so punchy, and they're surprised at how good it sounds. Maybe it's something about that size, or Yamaha's got it,
They got it figured out.
Yeah.
Well, that was like that ridiculous Battle of the Bands that you played with Joel and I, where they put a towel on your snare drum.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Was the snares too loud?
I was barely playing.
He was like just looking at the drums, and they right away. Well, they had a mic too. It was like, take the fucking mics off, man. Like,
exactly, man.
Did they? I was trying to remember, and this is nobody else cares about hearing about this, but it's fun to talk about. Did they have you playing a cajon kick, or were you playing?
I think it was a cajon.
Was it?
Kick.
Yeah. It was this rock battle of the bands, and it was weird.
So had a cajon for a rock battle of the bands.
Well, they build it that way, so we were playing my music. I mean, you've heard it; it's rock, know. And the group before us was like a folk duo. It was a really weird. And we get up, it was like, sorry, this is going to be loud.
You did.
And they enjoyed it. We put on a good show, but I remember John sitting back there looking like, what the hell are these guys making me play?
Hey, I made it happen.
Yeah, we got through, and it was good. But yeah, I remember after hearing the other groups, it was like, shit, guys, I'm sorry. This is you're gonna want to probably move back a couple rows. Well, man, thank you so much for being on here. Is there any projects coming up. You told us about the Sammy Blue recording. Anything else you got in the works you want to shout out and talk about? Or
Yeah. I actually started my own band like maybe last year, about 5 months ago.
Nice. They're in Atlanta?
Yeah. They're in Atlanta. And be on the lookout for the Funk Tone.
The Funk Tones. Right on.
Funk Tones, man.
You have a lineup? You have a lineup you want to announce yet, or is it still?
It's still, in the
players
work.
coming in and out and stuff.
Yeah. I got it's like I'm scouting right now.
There you go.
But, I have Joel. I talked to Joel, so
yeah,
me and Joel are going to be working side by side, man.
Sweet.
I'm looking forward to it.
Didn't you know he's moving to Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we're trying to get him to move up here.
yeah. So you better get him quick.
You can have him for a little while. But we're
well, I just have him. I call him live, and he just play live.
There you go. Yeah.
Video messages.
There you
Skype
go.
it in or something. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Going to be doing original stuff, cover stuff, or a little bit of both?
Starting out, we're going to do covers, but it's not going to be just what you're just accustomed to.
Yeah.
Right.
We're starting rehearsing, and we're just making the stuff our own.
Yeah.
Man. But it's going to sound like the music. You're going to recognize the music, but it's going to have a spin to it.
That's awesome.
Good.
I'll put it like that.
Yeah. I wish I was still there. I'd play guitar for you.
Oh yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, tell the people where they can find you on Facebook, if there's a website they can point to, or YouTube, or anything like that. Let people know where they can hear your playing. We're gonna throw links up and stuff on the website also.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook at John Blackmon. My nickname is Lanky Darilist. That's LankyDarealist. You can find me on Instagram at Lanky Darilist. And of course, I'm on YouTube. You just type in my name, and a lot of the videos on YouTube are associated with Jarekus Singleton, and that's Jarekus Singleton. So you can check me out there, man. And I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, man. We'll have all those links up in the video as well, and also people.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to be playing samples of the song of Jarekus's that you sent me on YouTube. I got that downloaded, so we'll have samples of that with you playing drums on it for everybody to hear here on the podcast. But once again, everybody, John Blackmon from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good night.
You too.